Presiding Officer, first of all, I want to thank Alexander Stuart for bringing this motion to the Chamber today, which highlights that more than 1 in 4 pupils in Scotland are estimated to have an additional support need. That this figure demonstrates how important it is that we actually improve additional learning support for pupils across the country. Now, Mr Stuart's motion also references the Education Additional Support for Learning Scotland Act 2004 and the Additional Support for Learning Statutory Guidance from 2017. Now, despite this legislation and guidance being in place, I share Mr Stuart's concerns and that of my colleagues about how additional support learning is delivered in practice. I raised this during the ASN debate held in this chamber on the 25th of September last year, going back to the Education, Children and Young People Committee's report that was debated that day. And I once again want to highlight paragraph 29 of that report, which states, and I quote, "Many responses to the call for views contain details of negative personal experiences, including parents and carers having to fight to get support for their child, and some disturbing accounts of the impact on children and young people with ASN's health and mental well-being." Now, sadly, this reflects the experiences of many Inverclyde families. Now, Presiding Officer, it's with deep regret that families feel that they need to fight to have their children's rights upheld, which takes me on to Inverclyde Council's budget meeting from last Thursday. By way of background, the SNP Council Group proposed fully costed proposals for £300,000 to improve the Play for All summer childcare provision for children with additional support needs in Inverclyde. This was a point that was highlighted to the SNP councillors and myself consistently by parents. Now, in support of this proposal, which was baselined so it would be recurring in future budgets, my colleague Councillor James Daisley said during the meeting, and I quote, "This is about families who have spoken out, determined to have their struggles recognised. It's about children who, right now, are missing out on the same experiences that their peers enjoy. And it's about those families who will one day walk this path, who deserve to know that their child's needs will be met when the time comes." This is not just a discussion about policy, it's about fairness, dignity and ensuring that no family in our community is left behind. Now, for too long, families raising children with additional and complex needs have had no equal access to one of the most fundamental rights, the ability to learn, play and be part of their community during school breaks, summer in particular. And we know this because parents have shared their stories, their exhaustion, their frustration and their heartbreak. I'm sorry, I don't have time. Presiding Officer, Colin Edgley and his wife Veronica mounted a campaign to encourage local families to urge their local councillors to support this motion that went forward. They told me, and I quote, "That is exhausting feeling like we must fight for the rights of our children to play in the same way other children can, and our elected councillors have thus far allowed it to happen." So that kind of takes me on that very initial point that Mr Stuart spoke about, and the point I highlighted about in practice. Presiding Officer, improving additional learning isn't just about the positive impact it has on the child. It's also about the positive impact it has on the wider family unit. Parents spending less time and energy fighting for their children's rights to be upheld. In closing, I strongly urge everyone who has the authority to improve the situation for children with ASN to do all they can to make it happen. Whether that's in Parliament, that's also in local authorities. And I wasn't going to finish off on this point, but I will because of Mr Stuart's comments earlier on. It's just a shame, however, Mr Stuart, just a shame that last Thursday, Inverclyde Labour councillors, supported by Independents and the Conservatives, could not support the motion that went forward to support ASN kids in my constituency.